If you're serious about improving your golf and want to make 2025 the best golfing year of your life, then the time to start is right now. And the information contained within this video will help you to do just that. I'll help you make meaningful changes to your technique, changes that stick and changes that you can take to the golf course that will result in lower scores. And I'll help you to avoid the common mistakes I see golfers making when they try to embark on a practice plan. So let's not waste another winter whacking balls aimlessly into the screen in front of you. Instead, let's put together a plan that's going to keep you focused, motivated, and accountable, and will ultimately provide you with the results you're looking for. That's the best golf of your life. I know that many of you watching will be fortunate enough to practice indoors during the winter, which is great, whether that's a home simulator system that you have or an indoor golf centre providing you a facility with which to do so. This is hugely beneficial because it removes the weather constraint, which is often a problem during the Northern Hemisphere winter, and it also will provide a lot of information and feedback to you that could help you with your progress. However, you do not need an expensive launch monitor if you're trying to make progress. You simply need three things: a golf coach that you trust and has given you good information, a tripod for your phone or your tablet so that you can film your swing, and constraints, how to practice in a way that helps you to make the changes that you need to. I think one of the most grossly underestimated things when it comes to making any meaningful change to your technique is, number one, how long changing your pattern can take, and by the same token, number two, how long you need to do a specific drill for. I see players working on something for 1 or 2 weeks, making minor changes to their swing, and then already looking to move on to the next thing. The truth is, it's not really that complicated. It's actually really simple. Understand what you need to do. You're going to get that from a good coach. Be able to practice it in a way that's very specific with clear guidelines and clear outcome expectations, and then monitor that via video feedback. If you have a launch monitor, great. But if you don't, you can learn to educate your eye using your camera to see how your swing is supposed to look, and how it looks will influence how it functions. So let's begin that education process right now. If you can film your golf swing from the front view, I'll show you 2 things that you should be looking for, which I promise will improve your ball striking. If you implement these changes, your ball striking will be more consistent, your shots will finish closer to the hole, and you'll ultimately become a better golfer. All too often, the most basic skill gets overlooked. When practicing to try and improve, you're not really improving the things that matter. Good quality ball striking is a defining skill in the game of golf. The best golfers hit the ball first and the ground second. The poorest players do not. What that looks like from a geometry point of view is 2 things. Number one, the golfer has their weight more forward when they hit the ball than they did when they started. And that weight would be measured using the lower body. So the pelvis would be more towards the target than it was at setup. That movement would be more in the best players and furthest back in the worst players. So moving your weight forward would help you to hit the ground after the ball. The second thing that you'd look for would be the arrangement of the shaft relative to the hands and the lead arm. So meaning the best players would have some shaft lean where the club is trailing the lead arm slightly when they hit the ball, and the poorest players would have the club overtake the lead arm before impact, leading to top shots, thin shots, and a whole host of problems. Now, when you're filming from the front view, what should you be looking for? There's a nice little push draw right there, which was a very standard stock shot for me. Now, good contact on that ball. I managed to get the low point of my swing 5.4 inches after the ball. That means the bottom of my swing arc happened after the ball. As I say, that's an overlooked skill by most of you who don't understand fully that that's what you're supposed to be doing when you're hitting these shots from the ground. In order to produce a low point that's after the ball, you need your weight forward and you need to have your hands slightly ahead of the club head at impact. When you're measuring your swing, take a look at the following lines. Set up, draw a line down both legs from the hip down to the outside of the ankle. That's going to give you a little range there for where your lower body is starting. And when we look at impact, we need to make sure that the hips, the pelvis, have moved towards the target. They've broken away from those lines, you've moved away from the line that was by your trail leg, and you've broken through the line that was drawn down your lead leg. The greater the amount of movement there, the more likely you are to be successful at hitting the ground after the ball. Ultimately, the weight location is one of the biggest factors that influences where the club bottoms out on the ground. So moving your weight forward and measuring that using the camera to see how far forward you're moving your weight is a really simple way to ensure that you're starting to make improvements to your swing. I would see that the most common error in golfers who struggle with their ball striking is they do not get that pelvis far enough forwards, and in many cases don't get it forwards at all. And yet in the case of the world's best golfer, he's moving his pelvis 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches towards the target throughout the time and space of the swing. That's something that you can learn from, and that's something you can measure using a camera. The second thing I would tell you to look for is that you have the lead arm and the shaft form a straight line at setup. And then as you swing back and hit the ball, you're trying to create an angle there where there's some shaft lean at the point of impact. For some of you, that's going to be quite tricky to do. And for many reasons, it won't just be because of how your hands are positioned. There'll be other factors. Once again, this comes back to why you need to get a coach in the first place. But if I was going to tell you what to monitor from this front view, you're going to draw your line down your lead arm and the shaft, and then you're going to take that same line when you hit the ball and then make sure that your hands are still ahead. I'm going to hit one at full speed just to show you what that looks like, and I'll pull up an example of this on the screen as well. At the point of impact, we want the handle to be forwards of where it was at the beginning of the swing. That's going to help me hit the ground after the ball. So the two factors I need to help me move my low point more forwards would be, number one, moving the weight forward. Number two, having the hands ahead of the club head. And I'd say that people underestimate how far forwards they really need to be. I think there's a general concept, a basic understanding that the weight needs to be forward in the swing, but very few people really recognize how far forward it should be. And when you're deficient in your ball striking, the likelihood is you're not getting your weight far enough forward. But people don't push themselves to go far enough. So use those lines down the side of your legs and try to break through that as far as you can by the time you hit the ball. I would suggest that the more forward you get your weight, the better your ball striking will become. So if you are serious about improving your golf this winter, improving your ball striking should be your top priority. Now, some of you may be screaming at the TV and saying, hang on, what about chipping and putting? Don't they matter? Well, of course they matter. But the skill of better ball striking can be far more closely associated with a difference in score than slightly better putting or chipping. I often like to think about it like this. If I told you you had to have a nearest the pin competition against a tournament professional, would you prefer that competition to take place from a 6-foot putt or a 200-yard par 3? I think you know the answer. You're much better at putting than you believe, and you're much worse at ball striking than you recognize. So if anybody watching is interested in exploring an online lesson experience this winter with me, I'll put a link to my skillest profile down into the description. And for those of you watching this video, if you use the code WINTER24, you'll see a 10% discount on your first month subscription. I'm limiting that code to the first 10 people to take it because I only offer a limited number of slots for players serious about improving their golf. So if you're interested in improving this winter and you want to take some online lessons with me, download the Skillest app, search for my name there, and I look forward to connecting with you on that platform. If you did enjoy the video today, can I ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new, because the more likes a video gets, the more YouTube recommends that video. My goal with this channel is to reach as many golfers as possible. So by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, you're really helping me to do that. Now that you're better educated on what to look for when filming your swing, you need to know how to film your swing and from what angles for best results. This video I made right here explains that exact process. And if you want to go a bit deeper into the drill that I shared today with the weight forward and the handle forward, you want to try the hit hard, stop quick drill, which would be this video right here.